Good evening. This is Choices. It has always been a pleasure of ours to come into your home and your space in the bars, in the corners, wherever you receive us from. We want to say thank you. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the scourge of teenage pregnancy. And we do this kind of discussion because our youth are so valuable to us. Sometimes they go through all kinds of struggles and plights. And it seems as if we don't care. What we have been saying to them, we love you, we care, we are a part of your life, and we are seeking ways to alleviate some of these difficulties. Throughout the landscape of Guyana, all of our young people are valuable to us. Those who have been born in the trenches, you see, in the gutters, in the alleyways, those who are living in palaces, they are all so valuable, and we want to express our love and care. Could we sit down together and examine this issue and come up with real qualitative solutions to alleviate some of these difficulties? We will all say on this panel, sure we can. So welcome to Choices, and let us have this robust discussion as to how to help our young people in the challenges of teenage pregnancy.
The first way or the first thing we need to do if we're going to solve a problem is to recognize that there is one. If we refuse to recognize that we have a problem or turn a blind eye to the problem, we will not be able to become solutions oriented. And when you look around our society, I think it is general knowledge that we have lots of young people going into the role of motherhood and fatherhood in their teens. And we need to address this matter because we would like to have our young people fully developed, fully matured, so that they could be consequential to the development, to the advancement of their families, and by extension, the nation. And one of the things that we have been examining is the issue of tackling this problem from what we describe as a holistic approach, simply meaning that in society there are several players or groups or organizations or institutions, if you will, that can address this problem. And so it cannot be relegated to one group of persons recognizing that there is a problem in teenage pregnancy and attempting to fix that problem alone. For example, the church. It can't be the church alone. It can't be the school system alone. It can't be the family alone, because when the children leaves the home, they go places, and the community. So everyone has a role to play if we are going to address this scourge, because transformation cannot be achieved on paper. We could have a beautiful plan, a nice strategic plan, a nice policy document to say what we want to do to bring about transformation, but that document has to jump out of the book or off the wall and go into the community. We remember, I know we talk about teenage pregnancy, but as I'm speaking, I remember the scripture where it said, and the word became flesh and moved into the neighborhoods, referring to became flesh. So he didn't stay in heaven, speak. He became flesh and he moved into the neighborhoods and penetrated the neighborhoods. And so this is what we need to do now as groups. We need to move into the neighborhoods and penetrate the neighborhoods for the purpose of transformation. This has to do with intellect, has to do with finance, it has to do with social cohesion, and so many things. And so when we talk about changing the status quo, and when we talk about holistic approach or a collaborative approach, everyone must pay attention to what is happening, and everyone must bring what they have to the table so that we could alleviate or mitigate against this scourge, gentlemen.
Excellent, excellent, Dr. Hudson, Dr. Stana, as you posited those salient points and avenues, windows that we
Mhm.
can work with as we, in your words, take a holistic approach. What are we talking about? In Guyanese parlance, we would say you have to talk the talk and walk the walk. We have to become involved if we want to see transformation. And that in itself will cost us something. It will cost us our finances, our wherewithal, the fact that we have to work together. But what we're seeing is that even in this holistic approach, there are gaps. There are gaps in the family. For example, no one member of the family can approach this problem. No one member of the family should approach in responding to the scourge of teenage pregnancy. No one community can make the lasting impact, the transformation we want to see. No one church. So, what we are saying today is let us make a concerted effort. Let us stay with the process because the reality is people need help
Mhm.
and we can't have it the solution in pockets. We need to work together consistently, put our money, bring our ideas, work together so that we can see the lasting change that we want to see.
Well, you have all spoken well on this matter. I listened to a politician because it must go beyond awareness.
Mhm.
When these things are published, the research or an article in the print media, electronic media, publish about matters like this, people become sensitized, people are touched. The victim is suffering. And while that is happening, it might take 3, 4 months when you really see a higher level of collaboration,
Mhm.
different groups coming together because they want to help this person who's a victim, that person. And then we have a tendency of reverting quickly as you were, as the military is the military term. We go back to what we were doing before. It's no longer an issue. It's no longer fresh. But that victim is suffering. I think what we are saying is that we have to move beyond the emotional outbursts. We have to move beyond the awareness. And we have to understand that if there's going to be genuine transformation, it will cost somebody. If it's left to one group or one set of um, persons, they will have to be of the mind that this one thing I do, we will do this until we die.
Yeah.
But we don't have life. It's fluent. Life is dynamic. People move on from issue to issue. But we are insisting that this question of this scourge, we're thinking about the abuse of children, and we're thinking about the preparedness of that same victim to raise his or to raise her child in this new situation. It's pretty dynamic, pretty challenging. And so, at the very beginning, if you're going to get involved and if you want transformation, you don't want window dressing, it will cost you as an individual and it will cost your organization. It will cost in financial terms, it will cost in terms of time. Are we prepared to collaborate and to fight? And this is just one scourge. We have many others. So how are we going to tackle all of these things together?
I like the pointedness of your question, Bishop. It has caused us, at least me, to pause for a moment and to realize that in all of my excitement, I cannot do it by myself. And I guess it's something as a nation we need to recognize. I think what we might be doing here is what I describe as a vision board, building a vision board. All of us have been in the classroom. We know what a vision board looks like. You taking different pieces and putting together, trying to understand where you are actually going, where you should go. And in that process, you recognize that some pieces are placed in the wrong place, so you move them because they are not leading you to where you need to be. I think it is clear among all of us that we really need to address the issue of teenage pregnancy because of the social, economic, financial, personal, moral cost that it brings along. What we need to develop a strategy. And the very first thing I'm hearing coming out from us is the whole issue of collaborating with each other because we cannot do it by ourselves. I want to say yes, put my hands up and say, I want to be a part. And indeed, I can't do this by myself. We all need to come together. It's clear. Let's build this vision board.
As you mentioned, the question you asked, Bishop, how I think the issue of consistency, and you mentioned it, the issue, it can be today I am active about a matter, and tomorrow I no longer have any interest. I think the issue of consistency is important. It's Mike Murdoch, I think, said, what you do daily is what you become permanently. And so, in a matter like this, if you are interested in it, you stay with it. Consistency, because consistency also compounds growth. Nothing grows without being consistent. What happens, things will start and then it will die. So consistency is critical, and it also creates discipline. If you're consistent, what we're doing would create a level of discipline, so we stay with the process. If I say, for example, I am going to mentor a young man or mentor young men, I will stay with that. You have to stay with that. It can't be a conversation now and it is no longer a conversation later. And if you're saying, look, with these girls, I'm going to take on, let us say as a WM or whatever, I'm going to take on some girls and I'm going to work with them. You would want to see you stay with them and you see them blossom into wonderful young ladies and so on. But sometimes the cares of this life, and we gotta be factual too, right? Because people are dealing with their own issues too, and sometimes the cares of this life cause you to lose focus or to forget your plans, and that is why I believe in the question how it's caused, because you see a lot of people make appearances and make statements, and after a period of time, you don't see them anymore. We have a particular platform, those of us who are pastors, and I'm speaking about pastors in the ecclesia, we have a particular platform where we could be consistent with the people around us and what we say and what we teach them. Some people may have to go and find them. And so we are particularly poised to be consistent with how we treat with this thing. For example, you have a church, the young ladies will hear consistently what you want from them, how you want them to operate, how you want them to behave. And we have seen beautiful marriages and weddings came out of that kind of behavior. But the point I'm making is that we can't start and stop.
Excellent.
Even though we're working together, we got to be consistent in all the areas pull together and be consistent for collective impact.
Dr. Hudson, someone listening to this program might say, I am just a single person. I'm not very rich. I'm not this. They might find all sorts of excuses. But today we're encouraging you, as the scripture reminds us, one shall chase 1,000, but two can put 10,000 to flight. And so we're calling on you, whatever you have, whoever you are, to collaborate, to not just try to tackle these major issues and the scourge individually, but to join forces, join efforts with a group, with a movement that is working towards achieving what you're passionate about in relation to solving the problems that obtain. And then beyond that, we're reminded that you may have it in your house. Some of you might be wondering, where do I look? Where do I go? Well, you can start with your phone contact. You might know somebody that's a part of an organization that is working to improve society. Ring them up, call them up, and find out how you can be of support, how you can be of help. And if they're not in your phone contacts, it might be in your social media contact, it might be a Facebook friend. But spare no effort to join forces with any movement or group that is doing the job that you're passionate about in relation to helping those members or persons in society to bring that difference, to make a difference, to help those young men, to help those young women. So you don't have to do it alone. We're calling on you to collaborate. We're calling on you to make the effort and to be a part of a movement. And the beautiful thing about being a part of a movement is that you join in something that has already been established or is already moving forward. And so you don't have to start from ground zero. You can build with what they have and help to move that organization forward.
That is so beautiful. You may ask, what are some of the areas? We'll put some of the areas of collaboration. What about teaching, educating? We spoke a lot about that. The issue of testing, providing that environment, the issue of counseling, where there are complexities. What about the issue of parenting, where parents seem to lose it, not sure what to do or how to even parent? What about the issue of mentorship? Dr. Hudson spoke to the issue of mentorship and coaching a little earlier. What about the issue of skills training, providing opportunities to be able to access the marketplace? What about even economic and financial development? These are all areas that surround the issue that we are talking about. And each one of them require a special care and attention to be able to deal with this matter. For truly, it is a complex issue and requires a complex or a comprehensive approach.
I'm of the view that poverty, if we are going to consistently address this issue, we have to deal with the basic elements of poverty. These victims are exposed because of their poor state. They are vulnerable. They go to somebody seeking help. So I'm in agreement with the education, the lessons, the teaching. I'm in full agreement with the motivational stuff. But what is critical is that we have to reach them so that they will realize that even in their state of poverty, they have human dignity and they will not expose themselves to the perpetrators. They will not easily allow themselves to be taken advantage of. This thing about dignity is human dignity is very, very important. And people have the tendency of classifying or saying those who have dignity are those who live in those big houses and good neighborhoods. Every human being was born with dignity, and we have to help them to feel good about themselves. And poverty is an issue that all the groups must come together, not to create a dependency, but to do something in the long haul, to be consistent with what we deliver. And so we'll be able to minimize this whole issue of not only teenage pregnancy, but joining of gangs. There's a sharp economic uh, reality that we have to address.
You
You
know,
know,
and you mentioned poverty, and poverty is a big man in terms of, how people could lose themselves. You remember the story with the prodigal? He had everything, but when he went into poverty, what he did, he started to sell himself cheaply. But the thing about it is that that man came to his senses, and many of us, I mean, if we really want to be honest here, we were in the same situation. We grew up in poverty. We hadn't, like you mentioned, the rich people, and we weren't in big fancy houses and so on, but we kept our dignity, we kept ourselves, and we held on to. I mean, I didn't know about Nelson Mandela and all that in those days when he talked about poverty. Education is the key for deliverance from poverty, and so many other writers spoke about that. But there's so many other things, not just education, but anybody who understands who they are as a child of God will recognize that they are not to sell themselves cheaply, and that, as you talk about the vision board, Pastor Dr. Sana, though the vision tarry, wait for it. You got to be patient too. You
Yeah.
got to be patient. We got to teach our young people to this thing about delayed gratification. Just be patient and hold the line. You understand me? Education, like goals. What are the goals? Who you want to become? Listen, God and people are attracted to people who had a purpose. I mean, let me quickly talk about Deborah, my wife. She mean grew up in poverty and so on, but then she said to the aunt in England, "Man, I want some education. I want to study." And the aunt, as an English woman, and the husband created an avenue where she could travel to New Zealand and study. So I'm saying that to say that when you have a plan in your head, even though you might be poor, but you're dignified, you could attract people to you. Lots of these young men, lots of those young men and young women around the world, you see how they came out of poverty. And forgive me for talking about sports. I see men like Vaibhav and a whole set of young cricketers. They grew up in poverty, but people gravitated to them because they decided that, look, we ain't selling myself. I want to use this style. I have a plan. And in many other parts, in Africa and those places, look at those girls, the runners and so on. These girls could have turned out to be prostitutes and so on. The villages that they're from, they not even had bed, there's mud they slept on and so on. But somebody, they held the line, and they decided to, the people. So I'm saying that people have gravitated to people who got a plan and want to become somebody. So not because you're poor and you might be living in squalor, it means, you know what, the best thing for me to do is go and sell myself. You have to understand that we were created, I want to sound like a preacher now, but we were created in the likeness and in the image of God. So we bear the image of God. So nobody should say, you know what, I go in and become a prostitute because I need some money. Or no male, whether young or old, saying, I go in and become a prostitute myself. I agree, you hold the line because you have dignity, and God give each and every one of us that kind of attitude.
In a
Okay.
sense, as we continue to share and bring solutions, workable solutions, in essence, when we talk about transformation, Transformation, in essence, is not only being able to be touched by a problem or being, affected by a problem, but being able to do something to change that situation. And there is where all of us comes in. We know somebody who need help in our community, even in our home. We don't have to raise our voices and let the world know, but we can start making those little inroads. We deal with this problem, this scourge, in a two-pronged approach. Those who are already in it, bring the counseling, bring the help that we are talking about. And those who, the younger ones, we can also work on educating and helping them to avoid this crisis. And so we are encouraging all of us to use our considerable resources, our influence. We know some people may not be able to actually come on board, but they have finances and they can work and they can put things together. God bless you.
And as we discuss this, what's coming to mind for me is an approach that I or a framework that I tend to use. There are two things you could do. Some of us are either there to wake people up, and some of us are there to work with the willing. So as a leader, you kind of have to figure out where your purpose is, and either realize that your job is to wake people up, or your job is to work with the willing. Focus on how your skill set is organized and follow through.
Well, this is not an easy task. Our challenge is to encourage you to move beyond just awareness. And let us, even as Joshua suggested, use your contacts, use social media to help us to deliver the help that is needed to bring true transformation. And this thing can't be done by one person or one group. That's why you hear the word holistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not just for a short period.
Mm-hmm.
It will demand your time. This is Choices. We are committed, and by God's grace, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Salacia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.